Hello, everybody. Welcome to our March HubSpot User Group for B2B tech companies. Today we have Sebastian and also Doug here from MethodData. They are going to be talking about how to get the most out of HubSpot through custom integrations. There's a lot that exists on the app marketplace. They're going to talk about how those are maybe good, bad, and ugly, and then kind of the power of custom integrations within HubSpot. Sebastian's running the slideshow here, so I will let him go to the next slide. So I am Jen. I'm the moderator here of the Hug. We run them once a quarter, and I'm also the owner of Kiwi Creative. We're a 4 times accredited HubSpot Platinum partner. We work pretty much exclusively with B2B tech companies, which is why we lead these quarterly Hugs. It's a specific interest for us. I know a lot of clients and prospects lately are asking about custom integrations specifically, so I thought it was very timely to have the MethodData team here to present.
Jen, thank you. Appreciate it, and welcome everybody. I very much appreciate your time. What I'd love is for this to be an interactive session. Send questions to Jen. I'll answer them as best I can. If I can't answer them, it's a long answer. I'll happily get back to you afterwards. But please feel free to ask whatever you want. These are way more fun when I ask questions. I will keep on going, but as questions come up, stop me, and I will gladly answer them. So just a tiny bit about us. I'm Sebastian Walker. I'm the CEO of MethodData. And we started MethodData in 2020, based out of Baltimore. I'm in Baltimore in Maryland, and we are the proud technical partner of 27 HubSpot agencies so far. That list is growing every day. I think we're finding more and more that HubSpot agencies are seeing more and more complex integrations are becoming harder and harder for them to do in-house. And so we tend to be the exclusive technical partner that come to us for those really tough technical integrations. We're an AWS Advanced partner as well, which helps us a lot with integrations. Actually, the background with AWS and our understanding of technology helps us a lot. And we've got a team of 52 employees based all over the world now. We've got in South America, we've got in South Africa, we've got in Europe, and all remote. And the beauty of being remote is we've got an ability to pick up some really wonderful people across the world. We specialize, won't do too much about it, but we specialize, as I said, in custom complex integrations. We build a lot of now custom AI models. Probably a third of our work is AI models, and that ties into integrations. I'll talk about that a bit later on. We do a lot of product development across all sorts of industries. Name an industry, we probably built some product in that industry. We build a lot of analytics reporting, which ties back into those integrations. And then we build a lot of data lakes, data warehouses, etc., which again ties back into integrations, ties back into AI, ties back into reporting, etc. So let's talk a bit about, and I spent probably 5 minutes per slide, let's talk about the current HubSpot integration ecosystem. So as a matter of interest, I think Jen asked the question, have any of you used any of the current integrations that are available on the HubSpot marketplace? Has it been something that's been successful for you? Have you tried them? I know Zapier's got better and better, but have you tried what's on the system? What's on the marketplace? Jen, with you getting any answers back. As the answers come in, I'll tell you what our experience has been, and the reason that we have agencies and customers coming directly to us is there are certainly plenty, 800 plus integrations on marketplace. But what we found with the majority of our customers is those integrations are very vanilla. So you've got X number of data points you can integrate, and those X number of data points tend to be pretty basic. And almost without fail, as we live in a more and more complex world, and the need for integrations become greater and greater, almost now without fail, those custom integrations are not sufficient. Those out-the-box integrations are not sufficient. We have customers come to us and say, we need more than those 12 data points. We need to manipulate the data. We need to integrate between 3 different systems. There's compliance issues, etc. And those out-the-box integrations aren't working for the vast majority of people like they used to. You know, a few years ago, integrations were simpler than they are today. But nowadays, those standard out-the-box integrations aren't as reliable as they used to be, and certainly don't offer the variety of data points that most integrations now need. So
Sebastian, I'm in the chat here, and Jeanette is using a custom Dynamics integration. It looks like out of the box Hotjar and Storylane.
Hotjar's great. Hotjar's got a really great integration, yeah.
Our buddy Graham here is using some custom integrations for a couple key SaaS products and other ones for Pendo, Zoom, Power BI, etc. So he's very well integrated here. And Michael is integrating with Supered and Xero.
Xero. So we use Xero for ourselves, and we'll talk a bit later about internal versus external integration, certainly MethodData. We use Xero, we integrate back into our bank account, and it breaks regularly, but it works. Our accounts payable tear their hair out, but it does work, and the level of effort required to build a custom integration just isn't worth it for us. So the Xero integration is a very good example of an out-the-box integration that works more than well enough to do what's needed. I saw a question there as well. The question is, what is an integration? And that's actually a really good question. Let me summarize it in 30 seconds. So an integration is sending data from one application to another application. So whatever application it might be, and we build integrations from, we had a client contact us last year to build an integration from software that sells secondhand truck tires back into HubSpot or back into Salesforce or wherever it might be. So any application that you want to talk to another application to send that data either one way or by way. So one way directly, or send that information back again. So let's talk a little bit about how we measure the value of integrations. And we talk a lot with our clients about the return on investment for an integration. And there's a lot we consider. We consider, is this being done manually today? Is that integration being, is somebody downloading a spreadsheet from 3 different systems and integrating that data once a month to make a decision on financial reporting, on sales, on marketing, etc.? So is it being done manually today? Could you save that time? Is it being done manually today, and could it create errors? Human error is, especially when you're doing a repeatable task, is significant. And then the main reason that our clients move forward with a complex integration, with a by way or single integration, is they've got needs when it comes to either sales or marketing. So they've got their data somewhere else and they want to do a sales marketing campaign, or they want to make a business decision. They want a business decision based on all of their data. They don't want to pull from spreadsheets from 7, 8 disparate systems and try and consolidate it into one location manually. And they want to either produce financial reporting for a board or CEO or somebody who wants to make significant financial decisions, or they want to make a decision around their business, and they want all that data available to them. And so the return on investment, it's hard to quantify it as 1.2 times return on investment. There's a couple of stats we've got in a couple of slides time which shows legitimately a 20 to 25% return on the money spent on an integration. But there's so many different reasons. Certainly in the HubSpot ecosystem, the majority of our customers do it because they've got a sales or marketing campaign that they want to run, and they want all of that data, and they've got clients in 6, 7 different systems, and they want consolidated. But the return on investment really is hard to quantify, but almost without fail, you end up making far better decisions. And certainly from a MethodData perspective, from our own internal systems, we have more return on that on our time and effort, with more customers and more opportunity because of the integrations and the thoughtful way in which we go about it. The third point is in-house resources versus finding the right partner. So with Zapier and the apps available in the marketplace, and the Xero app as a really good example, you certainly can do integrations yourself. We're finding that a lot of our partners that we do work with, or a lot of clients we do work with, are very techie themselves, and they could build that integration themselves, but they're so busy building and so busy fixing what they've got themselves internally that they very regularly give it to us to say, can you build this integration for us? Because it will actually save us time by you doing it, you maintaining it, rather than we put an engineer onto it to build it, and that engineer could be building our own internal product, which will have a better return on investment for us. So we're finding that even the most techie partners tend to come to us nowadays rather than build it themselves. If it's Zapier or if it's an internal marketplace, non-custom integration, that's easy to do. But we're finding that integrations become more and more complex, and it's that attention to detail that makes them successful. Now, I've spoken about off-the-shelf integrations. We do a lot of due diligence up front. What we don't want to do is build complex integration if there genuinely is something in the marketplace or something that exists that can be used. So we do a thorough due diligence of what is cheap and easy. Is that cheap and easy solution, rather than spending 200 hours building integration? And we do a lot of thorough due diligence on that. And then when it comes to most integrations, and we see this with our clients, they come to us to build an integration. They say, I want to connect, and I use some random application back into Salesforce. And we say, sure. What data points do you want to bring across? And they say, let's bring them all across. I say, what's 1,000 data points? Do you really want to bring 1,000 data points across? Because it's going to be very expensive to do, a lot of data storage and take a lot of time. And they'll say to us, yeah, I need all 1,000 data points. I say, well, hang on, what do you want it for? Why do you want to do this integration? And they say, I want to produce some relatively straightforward financial reporting. And we'll sit down with them for a week and we'll map out. And actually, in the end, they need 18 data points. And 3 weeks later, it's built and it works perfectly. And they've saved them a huge amount of time and effort rather than building something very complex, very custom. And then the creative juices start flowing and go, well, these 18 data points, that's really helpful. But if we bought these 12 data points and these 12 data points, we could produce this reporting and that reporting. And so I suppose it's a bit like writing a novel. You don't really know the final page. You don't know exactly what chapter 7 is going to look like. But once you write chapter 1, and I've never written a novel, but once you write chapter 1, it all starts to flow and think, what about this? What about that? And so, we've got one client now, I think we're in phase 19 of integrations with them, where as we built the next phase, they've thought of more and more that can add to their business. I'll pause for any questions.
We had a question, but it looks like you're going to be addressing it soon. It was, if custom integrations usually happen after somebody's tried the standard one and failed, and then how do you determine if the standard one will actually work for the needs versus having to do custom?
Yeah, that is the nub, and I think it was Jeanette. That is the absolute nub of custom integration. So I always talk about integrations being an art, and my team gets tired of it, but it really is an art. It's not so much a science. And we've got the tech down. We can build integrations pretty easily these days. Where we struggle and where our clients struggle is thinking through what that integration looks like. How many data points need to come across? What do you want to do with that data? Where does the data go to? And it's the mapping and the planning and the thought up front that makes that integration successful. It's the attention to detail as well. Because unless every data point's mapped and thought through carefully, you're going to build an integration that isn't fit for purpose. So what we tend to do is sit with a client and go, why do you want this integration? What data points do you need? We'll then map it all out and say, okay, that's what you need. You need the 17 data points coming from ABC product back into HubSpot. And we'll then go and look and see, is there an out-the-box integration that can do that? And often there is. And we'll say, that actually makes sense for you. I recommend you save a lot of money and you go and use that out-the-box integration. Or more often than not, as integrations are becoming more and more complex, we'll go back to the client and say that out-the-box integration actually only does 4 of those data points. And there's a whole lot of compliance issues that we need to take care of, and security issues, et cetera, et cetera. We recommend on this occasion a custom integration. And we then build it, and then those creative juices start flowing. Our head of integrations always talks about opening the pipe. You open the pipe and the data flows, and all of a sudden, and the creative juices start flowing. We never had a customer who's ever come to us and said, I've got 22 data points, I know exactly what I want. Can you build it in 3 weeks? It's always, I have an idea. I think I want to do that, and we're on our way. So Jeanette, excellent question. Thank you. Okay, move on to the next slide. 1 second. Okay, so, and I've probably covered some of this already, but when are custom integrations needed? So we think a lot about internal versus external, and we all have needs for internal integrations. We probably got 5 internal integrations, of which very few are custom actually. Our internal integrations, the Zero is a great example, is a standard out-the-box integration. I use Zapier a lot. We've got a ton of Zapier integrations, and really Zapier now is really powerful. You don't need to be techie. You can sit with Zapier and fiddle around with it. It's very user-friendly. It's not expensive, and it's user-friendly. And almost anybody can now build a Zapier integration. So I encourage people to go and think about what your integration needs are, and then go and try Zapier. Go to the HubSpot marketplace and see, is there out-the-box integration that works? And try it. See whether it works. I bet 2/3 of the time it won't, but it's worth going through that exercise. And then the more complex integrations we build, almost without fail, complex integrations are external. We live in a world we're all using more and more products, more and more applications every single day. And we're regularly building our integrations with 8, 9, 10 different, they're coming from 8, 9, 10 different sources, with conflicting data, with all sorts of compliance and HIPAA issues, et cetera, et cetera. And GDPR in Europe, and it starts to get really complex really, really fast. And it can take, for a really huge integration with a data lake and a whole lot of other work, 3-4 months to build something that is absolutely fit for purpose. But I encourage you, start slowly. Try Zapier, try an out-the-box integration and see whether it works. And if it doesn't, then start thinking about where you're going to find a partner to do that for you. What we find as well, we do a lot of work in the healthcare space and the legal space. A lot of their systems, a lot of the ERPs are very dated. So, either there isn't an out-the-box integration. Even for us, some of it's difficult. They know the APIs are very limited, or the webhooks are very limited. We've often got to scrape data, etc. And so there's certainly very little appetite, particularly within the older legacy systems, to really change. So the healthcare is a really great example where those systems are 30 years old, some of them, and there's little appetite to ever change those systems. And so to build those integrations, none of them are out the box. All of them are custom, and they are a heavy lift to do. It's really complex, really heavy lift to do. Point 4 as well, I think I've covered this a little bit, but really internal teams spending hours manipulating spreadsheets, pulling data across and compiling reports, etc. It's so unnecessary nowadays. The amount of time it saves, and the quality of that reporting, because that integration's done right, is absolutely worth the effort. Point 5, which really we see with HubSpot a lot, and we see with our partners, that deals, really big deals that they're about to get over the line, get stuck because there's an integration. When I started MethodData in 2020, the integrations we were doing were really quite basic integrations. There wasn't this complex need. And we were doing integrations probably that Zapier does nowadays. We're doing those as custom integrations. And as the years have gone by, each year it feels that integrations are getting almost exponentially more complex, because there are more of them needed. We've got more systems that we're talking to. And so we're finding with a lot of our partners as well, unless they've got an integration partner, their entire HubSpot deal, or their Salesforce, we do a lot of Salesforce integrations too, get stuck in their pipeline, because the integration is actually the sticking point. I think HubSpot's struggling with it too as well, because they know they've got those 1,800 out-the-box integrations. I think a lot of the sales reps are hopeful that the out-the-box can often solve those integration needs, but we're finding more and more that they can't. Point 6, we cover connection with 2+ integrations. I said 6, 7, 8 products now, 8 applications we're starting to see. And if you don't end up integrating your systems, you end up with a whole lot of data silos, a whole lot of workflow gaps, and you end up with pretty average reporting. Whereas if you consolidate all into one central location, you build a data lake. We build a lot of data lakes. We do 4 or 5 integrations back into data lake, and then all that reporting becomes really, really powerful, really, really early on. Any questions? I'm flicking back and forth between. No, okay. Okay.
I think we're good on questions for now. I know you prompted the group for one, so if you're not in the chat, Sebastian was wondering if anybody has ever delayed buying any sort of software because you had a crucial integration and you just weren't sure if it was going to work. If that's ever affected your process of bringing new systems on board.
I will carry on going until answers come through. Okay, so why custom integration is essential? Well, why integrations in general is essential? I think for us, and this is in no particular order actually, but customer retention. We are finding that our customers, the majority of our customers are sales and marketing agencies, or HubSpot partners, and they cannot retain their customers without being able to do custom integrations. And we've got multiple of our partners now who've actually got rid of their internal technical teams and leave it to us to do the complex integrations, because they're becoming so hard to do and tech talent is so expensive that they'd rather focus on growing their business and give us the freedom to build integrations for them and partner with them. So that increased customer retention, and I think, I don't know, Jen, whether you've seen it too, but it's becoming harder and harder for a HubSpot agency to grow without the ability to do complex integrations. We find like 1 out of every 2 deals now requires at least one one integration, potentially more integrations. I don't know, Jen, whether you've seen that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody has something more technical than HubSpot can do out of the box lately.
So point to productivity. So the 25% boost, there's a little link there in the source, and you look at the slides afterwards, but there's a proven 25% boost in productivity. And there's a 20% reduction in operational costs. And these are very high level numbers, and I'll let you read the article afterwards. But we see it across the board with our customers. The time and effort put into integrations, and then year after year after year, the return on investment for those integrations continue to be significant. And then to me, from my business perspective, is decision making. Now, I'm able to make, I think, smarter decisions because I've got access to the data that I need. And I'm a very database person. MethodData is we're a database company, but I'm also personally a very database person. I try to make decisions. I try very hard. We're still all human and we're emotional, but I try very hard to make my decisions based on data. So we try to integrate as much as we can into one central location. And every business decision I make, every financial decision I make, is based on, let me see what data we have. Let's try and look at the data and make a decision based around that data. Quickly flick back. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting one in France as well. And I don't know whether there's anybody from Europe here as well, but GDPR as well is a real struggle when it comes to working with our European partners. We're probably 90%, 95% of our work is based out of the US. We do some work in Europe, and that right to be forgotten is a significant challenge. And you've got to be really careful when it comes to building integrations. Just read that question one more time. Yeah, we are partner, Michael, that's a really good question. We partner now with a lot of companies like that in France, where we actually do their integrations for them. Companies like that are not, probably a third of our customers are HubSpot partners, but the others are actually companies that need integrations and they don't have the in-house teams themselves. They'll end up putting the money and time and effort in building their own product, and then they hit this roadblock because they've got to build integrations too for their own customers. And so we work with, I don't know, probably 10, 15 companies where we do their custom integrations for them. We help them build their APIs and their webhooks, etc. So what you've seen there, what you've articulated there is actually really, really common. Okay, next slide. Okay, benefits of a custom integration solution. So I've covered some of this, but I'm going to go through it in a little bit more detail. So name an application, name an industry, almost certainly we've built an integration into that product or into that industry. And we have clients come to us and they say, have you built an integration from, and I use that secondhand truck tire software because that was the most unusual one that we've done recently. I say, have you built an integration from, I won't give you the name of the product, but ABC secondhand truck sales? And we'll say, no, we haven't. And they go, oh, if you haven't done it, then if you haven't done it before, you won't be able to do it. And I always give the same answer. And I see a couple of friendly faces here who we've done a couple of integrations for on this call, and I appreciate you joining. I won't call you up, but appreciate you joining. But it is the same thorough due diligence process every time. So we sit down with the client and we go, due diligence, is there something out the box? Yes or no? Are there legal issues? Are there compliance issues? What are your data points? Are there APIs? Are there restrictions around those APIs? A lot of APIs are throttled, a lot of APIs are hidden. A lot of companies, we do a lot of Service Titan integrations, and Service Titan are just a nightmare to work with, but we found ways of getting around systems. So we spent a week and a half doing this really thorough 25-page, 30, 40-page due diligence. And then by the end of it, and we do this every time, whether we've done this integration 20 times or not. And so at the end of it, we end up with a report that the client can look at and go, either I build this myself, which nobody ever does, but they've got the ability to do it themselves. But they know exactly what they're going to get. They know all the risks, all the issues, because there's always risks, and there are always issues that need to be thought about. And they know exactly what's going to be built. So the question I always push the question back and say, if it's something we haven't done before, I've got no concerns, because either we can do it or we can't. And if we can't, we'll do our due diligence and we'll tell you honestly we can't. And I'll kind of say with hand on heart, if we can't do it, I think nobody else is going to, because we built so many of them. So internal integrations, try and put as many of your systems into one central location as possible. What we try to do as well, I think probably some of you have seen this, is once you do more than 2 or 3 integrations, it's probably worth just building a data lake. Just put the time and effort into it. And we build a lot of AI solutions now for clients. And AI is sexy. Everyone wants AI. And it's the least sexy conversation to say, let's spend the next 6 weeks building 10 integrations into a data lake. That's really boring for everybody. But we build a really robust data lake or data warehouse. And we've got all your integrations that's feeding data in there real time every single day. Then you've got rock solid data that you can then use to build all sorts of exciting integrations. And so it's always this, clients come to us super excited, I want to build this really robust AI tool, and let's spend 6 weeks building a data lake, and it takes the air out of the room to an extent. But then 6 weeks later, it's done, and then we can start to build, and then we can build any AI solution after that. So, think hard about more than 2 integrations. Do you really want to continue building those integrations? Build a data lake, spend the time and effort, or data warehouse, and then know your data is in a central location for all sorts of things. When it comes to reporting, when it comes to AI, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to sales marketing, you can access that data. It's in one central location. Let me just pause for a second.
Yeah. Hey, Sebastian, I'm going to jump in here. We got a question from Michael, specifically around whether REST API support within the application is a requirement to build an integration.
No, there's all sorts of ways. I mean, ideally, yes. Using APIs is certainly the easiest way to build integration. But there's other tricks, and I'll happily talk to you in more detail afterwards from a technical perspective. There's all sorts of tricks that we found to build integrations. But if there's a really robust REST API that we can access, that's got a whole ton of data points and got no restrictions, and it isn't throttled. HubSpot until recently throttled the API significantly, and it made building integrations where often we're sending a couple of million data points at least a day. Every a real-time integration was sending a lot of data back and forth, or migration. We do a lot of migrations too, which we build in the same way, and often sending millions of data points. It was taking a week sometimes to get all that data across because of the restrictions within the API. So the answer is, ideally, yes, we'd love that. 2/3 of the time, it's not the case, and we need to get inventive. Okay, let's carry on going. So automation, and we talk constantly about it internally within ourselves. Automation, just getting away, and I'm repeating myself here, but getting away from those manual tasks. Nobody enjoys doing manual tasks, and I certainly, some people fear for their jobs. They've been manipulating spreadsheets for the last 10 years, but I've yet to see anybody lose a job because that process has been automated. They've upskilled and now producing phenomenal reports and helping with decision making. So we try to automate as much. We do it personally ourselves, automate as much as we possibly can. And then you've got this ability to tailor the solution to whatever you want. What does your business need? Integration we can do anything with that data too. We often manipulate, when the data is sitting before it ends up going into some kind of system, whether it's HubSpot or Salesforce or data lake or whatever it might be. There's an ability to do anything with that data. So, a lot of clients have needs to manipulate their data significantly between the time it leaves the original system and the time it goes into the new system. And so we can do all sorts of things with that data and make it a lot more useful. And then the more interesting, the external client facing integrations, we really do shorten sales cycles by having the ability to do an integration quickly and well. Almost now without fail shortens that sales cycle. Almost every sale, certainly within the HubSpot space, requires at least a basic integration. As we said earlier, the majority are kind of more complex integrations. Also builds confidence. We've got a sales team ourselves, and our data is somewhat patchy from time to time. And knowing that integration is robust, that the data is as clean as possible, and it's giving you what you want, helps me make and helps our sales team make some, I think, really, really smart decisions. It gives them the confidence that, to the best of their knowledge, that data that is actually accurate. And then point 3, it certainly makes for stickier client relationships. You do an integration well, and the client sees the value of that, and almost without fail, they see enormous value. And then they trust you and they come back to you again. And we support integrations. 2 integrations break once a year, twice a year. knowing that you've got a partner that can fix that integration quickly. It always breaks at the worst possible time on a Sunday night when reporting is due on Monday morning. But having a partner that can take care of that relationship, and they come back to us again and again and again. And we don't do any advertising whatsoever. It's all word of mouth mainly within the HubSpot ecosystem. And so knowing that you've done a good quality integration and that your client is happy with that and they like what you've done. And then, as I said earlier, the creative juice software and say, what about this integration? What about that integration? What about phase 2, phase 3, et cetera. Creating recurring revenue streams, integration, certainly, we build some internal product ourselves, and we use a ton of integrations. The products we build is integrations all over the place. Some of those products have 10, 20, 30 integrations. And then enablement with new partners who may not be natively integrated. I think that speaks for itself, and I won't go into details on it. Go back to questions. Anything else? Anything on questions? Okay, I'm going to press on. Okay, what to think about. So here kind of is the nub of what I grapple with and what we grapple with MethodData. And to be frank, the first couple of years of building custom integrations were really tough. We hadn't built them before. We knew how to do them, but it wasn't part of our core business. I came from a tech background, but integrations hadn't been core to what we were doing. But as we started to do more and more integration, we realized first of all how challenging they are to do well, and secondly, we realized what a demand there was for them. And we saw how we failed initially, and we failed because we didn't have the attention to detail when it came to documenting what needs to be built. And so we documented as best we could. We build integration, and the client would say, that wasn't what I wanted. And I hate it when a client says, I thought this, I thought that. And so we refined our process, and it took us probably 2 years. By end of 2021, we had a very robust integration process. But the first couple of years were legitimately a struggle because we were building integrations that weren't what the client wanted. They were what the client thought they wanted. And so we started talking more and more about how we come up with a repeatable process that is robust and that everybody is delighted at the end of it. So the point I'm trying to make, and I kind of go back to that second-hand truck tire example. Don't worry if you find a partner who has not done that integration before. It's not a big deal, because it's almost certainly no one's done. If it's a very niche application, almost certainly nobody's done that before. I think the key is finding a partner who has a track record of significant integrations. You can go and get a couple of references from, and they have actually delivered on a number of specific complex integrations. Then what I spoke about earlier about, really integrations are this art. The science I think we've got down, the tech we've got down to we do that pretty well. But helping everybody understand why they want an integration and what that integration is going to look like, and take them on that journey. It's a journey we go on together. I'll say as well that if someone promises you something that sounds too good to be true with integrations, it's almost likely that it's too good to be true. Probably 5% of the time we bought in to fix an integration that had been built by somebody else with promises made and timelines that couldn't be kept. And 3 weeks later, they forget that we were not the original company that messed up the integration. But we end up helping them through that process together. And it ends up being almost without fail at the end, a good experience. But just beware. It's if someone promises you too much, then chances are it is too much. I would say that there's a lot of smaller companies outside of the US that will promise integration, and just the quality won't be there. And we've ended up, particularly out of India, we ended up taking over a lot of integrations out of India that have been significantly delayed. And we're finding that almost all of our clients now prefer a US-based integration partner with people that speak English and that really understand the system. So cheaper is not always best, and certainly we are not particularly expensive, but I'd just be very cautious about finding a cheap partner who promises a lot and almost without fail tries doesn't deliver. Ongoing fees. There's a lot of, integrations break. They break once a year, twice a year, and almost every company that built integration offers to go and support that integration. And we monitor integrations remotely, and we usually fix them before the client even knows that they are broken. But there is a risk, if you don't get support from who's ever built that integration, there is a risk that it does break on the Sunday night when you need it most desperately on the Monday. And so just be aware of those fees. A lot of companies try to charge $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month to support, which in reality is something that's going to break twice. I think the support's important. I think it gives peace of mind, but be very cautious about a company that's trying to charge you a significant amount of money for that support.
Yeah, and Sebastian, sorry to jump in. We got another good question from Michael, which is basically, if there are multiple integrations in an environment, it must make troubleshooting difficult when something breaks. How does a smart integration partner prepare for that ahead of time?
Yeah, it's not actually that difficult. So it's actually not that difficult, because we'll build the individual integrations, and almost without fail for us, the engineer who built the integration will be the engineer that goes and fixes that integration. But your point's a good one, that some of these integrations are so complex now, and that engineer who builds it gets so deep into the weeds on that particular integration, that there are times when something breaks and we cannot find, it takes us 2 days. We'll always find it eventually, but it takes 2 days to go and find the source of the problem. And this is in some ways why I constantly say to clients, 3 products onwards, let's build a data lake. Let's build a data lake, and then we can access that data so easily. It's a lot easier for us to go and troubleshoot. But you're right. And then the client will tweak it, and there'll be a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Before you know it, with this other client, got phase 19, and something breaks on phase 3. It does become hard. That is a really great question. And it does actually become hard to fix. And I think this is why a lot of clients who are quite technical feel they can maintain the integration themselves, but don't, because it's a lot easier for them to rely on us to do it, and for them to understand what we built in detail from a technical perspective is actually really, really hard for them. So yeah, that's a really great question too. Okay. Yeah. Point 5 ties back into the art and the science. Identify what the bottleneck is. Why do you want to build this integration? Not, I'm going to bring 1,000 data points across from Salesforce or HubSpot. Why do you want to build it? Are you migrating across? Are you leaving Salesforce and you want to move to HubSpot? Yes, bring everything across. But do you want 10 years worth of data? Do you maybe only want 2 years or 1 year's worth of data? So identify, why do you want this integration? What are the bottlenecks? And what problem are you looking to solve? Once you identify that, then the discussion around what the integration looks like comes from. Focus on needs before wants. So I think this is a really great point too. Why do you need this integration? You don't want it. Why do you need it? Not the wants of the integration. Why do you need it? And then start small. I'm a big proponent of do something out the box. Do Zapier. Start small, and start to build and build and build. And then 2 years later, you look back and go, I've got this incredibly sophisticated reporting that is changing my business. Or I've got now, I'm making business decisions based on this incredible volume of data that I've got and the quality of data I've got. And I'm South African originally, and we have this expression in South Africa, how do you eat an elephant? By taking the first bite. And that really is, when it comes to integrations, it's the same way. Take that first bite, build the first integration, open the pipes, get the data flowing, and then you'll start to think more and more and more about what that integration needs to be over time. And I don't know, Doug, I don't know whether I have yet to see an integration that we've built for a client that looks, even the first integration, that looks the same once we deliver it as what they came to us with 6 weeks earlier. It's never the same. It's always 60%, 80%, 90%, but it's never exactly the same as what they wanted, because they started to think about it in more detail. I don't know, Jen, whether you've actually seen the same as well.
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but yes, agree. Sebastian says is 100% on the mark.
Yeah, I think very often, just to speak more on that point, we get clients who start to think a lot about the art of the possible and get really excited about that. But to your point, take a small bite first. what is a custom integration going to be able to do for you that's going to produce the greatest ROI in the shortest period of time possible? When I say ROI, that might have top line impact, that might have bottom line impact, or it might just be saving time. But when you start small and you see the impact that it can have, then you start to incrementally increase the opportunities that a custom integration can provide your business. And maybe you end up at a place where, yeah, a data lake is the best thing from a long-term perspective, but start small.
So good question on Power BI. Let me answer that, Michael. You've got some good question. I'll happily pick up some of this with you offline with our head of integration. We'll talk about more. With Power BI, potentially not, but does Power BI integrate into every application you want it to integrate to? Have you got old legacy systems, old ERPs that Power BI can't actually get into? So, I think it's not a one solution fits all. It's a data lake works for this scenario. It doesn't work for that scenario. If you're doing Power BI into a pretty modern application, easy. You can access that data, easy peasy, build the reports that you want to build. If you're using Power BI to build reports using 2 or 3 really old legacy systems that you can't access the data, then you absolutely should build a data lake for that. Okay. So that is it. So I'm very happy to answer any questions that anybody's got.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, we're recording this and we will email out the link shortly after this, either later this afternoon or tomorrow. We'll also include the slide deck as well. We have a content piece that we produced that's downloadable there. You can access. It's for a very common and very easy integration right out of the box with HubSpot. It's the WordPress to HubSpot. So if you don't have Content Hub and you're hosting your website on WordPress, this guide will give you some tips and tricks of how to connect those two so the analytics and forms and everything flow everywhere.
We use that WordPress integration regularly. So.
Well, we still have a few more minutes. So Sebastian is here to answer any of your integration related questions if you want to pop them in the chat here. I know Michael's been the VIP, like I said, of asking all the smart questions here in the chat, so we appreciate that.
There have been some really great questions.
He says he's done. He's tapping out.
Michael, thank you. Appreciate all of those questions.
All right, very cool. Well, I don't see any more filing in here, so I will say thank you to Sebastian. Thank you to Doug. We do run these hugs quarterly, so the next one will be in June, and that's actually going to be the owner of an account-based marketing platform. He gave a very popular speech at Inbound. I know myself, I wasn't able to go. It was sold out, so there was no standing room even. So if you missed your chance to hear him then, he'll be talking about the ABM outbound funnel for B2B tech companies.
That sounds great. And thank you.
All right. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you in 3 months.
Thanks, everybody. So appreciate your time very much.